Hey bodyweight strength athletes, today we are programming for bodyweight strength. So if you are wondering how many sets, reps, how heavy should you go, how many sets should you perform, how many times a week, questions that I get asked daily, then if you love all of those details, we will explain everything using the Preppin Soviet Union chart and also the experience I gained throughout the years running training programs from 2015 up until today. So this is very interesting stuff. This will help you program for exercises like the planche, front lever, one arm chin up, handstand push up, iron cross, every amazing bodyweight strength skill this is information that you'll be able to use. Now before we get going, all of the bodyweight strength programs and online coaching under my guidance is in the link in the description below. Please check it out. Everything the calisthenic athlete needs is right there. Like, share, and subscribe only if you love the video. Thank you so much. Let's start with the Preppin chart. A.S. Preppin was a Soviet Union coach that back in 1975 looked at Olympic medalist 5 mesocycles. So basically, I believe it was over 5 months of training. He looked at their training journal to see, and very successful back then the Soviet Union was, and to see exactly how many sets, reps, with exact percentage they were doing. Mind you, Olympic lifting is also a strength sport, but is very similar in some terms to calisthenics or gymnastic strength, because it is a strength sport that requires a ton of technique, balance, coordination. Unlike maybe powerlifting, deadlift, bench, and squat, where yes, there is technique, but it is significantly more pure force output. So I derive a lot of information from weightlifting in particular for that good reason. I find a lot of similarities. He looked at training journals of 5 mesocycles, and he came up with these percentages. Now the Preppin chart, before anyone go on a rant in the comment section, is not perfect, okay? This is the disclaimer. He looked at clean and jerk and snatch, which is the competitive lifts. He didn't look at squat, front squats, pull from the floor. It is only from a few selected athletes, only from 5 months of training, and only from the Soviet Union style of training. Maybe the Chinese, which are also successful, train differently, okay? Maybe the Georgian weightlifting team, which is also very successful, train differently. The Bulgarian national team train differently. But I think it's still valuable, and if you can take this in the bigger context of how maybe bodyweight exercises should be programmed differently, react differently, more or less stressful, what's the level of the athlete, then this is extremely valuable. This is the percentage of the repetition max trained, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90+% of your 1 rep max. Basically, 1 rep that you can do of the hardest thing, that will be 100%. Those are numbers derivatives of that. Reps and sets, so how many sets and reps you would usually perform with each exact percentage range. What's the optimal total number, and what's the total, so what's that range that you can maybe do a little bit more or less of. And this is for each particular session. So not for the whole training week, okay? Again, disclaimer, as I said, not perfect, but I think, at least even going back to my programs, this works great for bodyweight strength. Very interesting. There's also a percentage, 50 to 60%. It's not as relevant for strength. For strength training, it's mostly the 70+% of your 1 rep max that will create the most strength stimulus. So I only included these 3. Now, when you are training with 90% of your 1 rep max, this is all the way to failure or very close to failure with possibly the heaviest thing that you can do. So if you can do, imagine your weighted chin up 1 rep max, This is right up there. You should only do about 1 or 2 sets of 1 to 2 reps. Minimum number of repetitions, 4 probably being the ideal. Right? 1 or 2 sets, 2 to 1 reps, and you can maybe go up to 10, stretch it. Again, if you go 90, maybe you can stretch it to 10. If you go 95 or 100, obviously you'll go with less. This is a range. 80 to 90% of your one rep max, which is equivalent to about anything that you can do 8 to 3 repetitions with. So think about handstand push-ups on the wall. Maybe your best is 5 reps. I can do 5 full range handstand push-ups on the wall. This is the exact training percentage that you should look at. 2 to 4 sets of 2 to 4 repetitions, ending up with about 15 total repetitions, with 10 to 20 being the range. Okay, so anything, if you take this, anything like 3 sets of 4, 4 sets of 4, okay, anything in that range will lead you to about 10 to 20 total repetitions for that session. And then we have 70 to 80. Again, anything that is 15 to 8 rep max. So this is something that you can rep out. You can do 3 to 6 sets, 3 to 6 reps, ending up with about 18 total repetitions, or this is the range. This is how you should read the Preppin chart. This is per session, how many reps you should do in total, or what's the optimal in relation to the percentage that you are training. Now, a lot of people will find out that they way overshoot these numbers. For instance, when I ran one of my own programs, I just achieved my first Iron Cross ever on rings. And soon thereafter, I started training for the Ring Maltese, right? 2019, this is already 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago. I was doing 100 total weekly repetitions with about 92% of my one rep max on average. So I took something that I can do about 2 reps with, and I did it 100 times throughout the week. This is way too much. This is what you should do, or thereabouts, in a session, and you may repeat it 2 or 3 times a week, 5 times a week if you're an absolute savage. You will get nowhere near to these numbers. Okay? We will go over other programs, but I was doing too much, too heavy, too hard, and I ended up severely injuring my elbows, inflamed. I was sure that I hit my ceiling. I had a good ride doing calisthenics, and I enjoyed it while it lasted. I already surpassed what I thought was able for me to achieve. I can definitely not surpass this level, and this is just my ceiling. In hindsight, this is nonsense. I was doing something wrong. It was apparent by my injuries and inflammation. I just didn't know what it was back then, and I was doing too much, too heavy. If you go back to other programs that were successful for me, like when I converted West Side style of training by Louis Simmons to gymnastic strength training, I did planche and iron cross back then. I did 155 total repetitions at about 72% of my one rep max on average. Now this is, I won't go over too many numbers, this is exhausting, but I want you to get the point. This is something that you can do significantly more work with, 70%. The same was when I successfully did the Easy Strength program by Dan John. 100 reps at about 78%. Again, this is something that you can endure significantly more volume with. You can't do as much volume with something that is significantly heavier, or you shouldn't. Every successful program that I ran was about this 75%-ish number. Most of the set ended up there. The West Side Barbell, the bent arm, straight arm, first program that I ever ran by Do Portal. Again, 150 reps at 76% of my one rep max, total weekly, this is weekly. So when you compare to this number, this is per session, this is weekly, so obviously this is significantly more than the per session volume. Every successful program had this range: 75, 76, 72, 78, okay? Not with what I can only do for 1 or 2 reps, which is what a lot of calisthenic athletes actually do. They call it attempts, and they do maybe 10 or 20 attempts per session, and they train 4, 5, even up to 6 sessions a week. Most of the attempts, that's really complimentary word. It is failures. They just sort of go into the sets, they stutter and they fall. This is no good training stimulus. It works for a short period of time to make fast strength gains because you are indeed training very specific to the sport, very heavy, close to 1 rep max, the exact skill that you want to do, but those people get injured and they never come back. A lot of calisthenics kids that you see doing this style of training, they suddenly get injured and they write an emotional post about how they will come back, but with this exact type of mentality and programming, they never will, and most of them don't, and you know it. I won't drop names here. Let's get on. These numbers make sense. Starting strength, which I did 2015 to get very strong at overhead presses, squats, deadlift, and bench presses, he pushed it to 82% of one rep max, but then you see that it's no longer this 150 reps, 150 reps. It's less volume. So there's a reverse relation between, okay, the intensity increased, the volume dropped. Which leads me to one of my probably most recommended programs on the Bodyweight Tribe website, the A-level strength. I love this program, intermediate style program. If you already have solid ring dips, solid ring chin-ups, full range of motion, this is the program for you to achieve the A-level gymnastics strength skills. And they push the numbers all the way up to 85% of your 1 rep max, which is fantastic for relative strength. You want to get strong pound per pound, you will mainly train with higher intensities. So I push the envelope to 85% of your 1 rep max with the A-level skills, but again, in reverse relation to the amount of volume that you will do weekly. And again, if you watch this Preppin chart, it falls in the exact same number. Per session, the optimal will be 15. Since on the A-level strength, you repeat each movement twice a week, this will be about double the optimal per session volume as recommended by AS Preppin chart, or AS Preppin, former Soviet Union coach in 1975. This is the reason why the A-level strength is successful. You can't increase the intensity higher than that, pushing more volume. Increasing intensity, increasing volume, this is where stuff don't work. All of the different training variables, they should accommodate one another. You increase frequency, you decrease volume per session. You increase intensity, volume has to drop. Vice versa. This is how I found success, doing 5-3-1 as well. I ran iron cross pullouts and ring Maltese holds in 2021. These exact numbers. Just recently, I did Bulgarian bodyweight, which I'm still working on writing the program for the website. Bulgarian bodyweight strength training. I took the Bulgarian style of training formed by Abajaev, Bulgarian former national team coach, highly successful, and they basically max out every day. I did it for 6 days a week, doing crazy straight arm skills, Maltese, iron cross, planches, the hardest variations I could ever do. I hit my ceiling. This program was highly successful. How can 6 days a week of maxing out work? Because I only did one set. I built every day towards the one hardest set I can do. So basically 1 set or 2 sets of 1 rep of the hardest I can do 6 days a week. Okay? What was the volume for that Bulgarian bodyweight system? 6 to 12 weekly repetitions in this range. Again, it sits exactly in this total volume recommended. This is the reason the Bulgarian bodyweight system worked for me. Now, if you want to program for yourself, you can take these numbers as recommendations. This is no black and white must work for me for every type of skill that I will program. If you weigh 100 kilograms, every bodyweight skill will be heavier. Handstand push-ups are more stressful on your joints. If you weigh 60 kilograms, you can do more weekly volume. Okay? Some skills require more volume. Some are more stressful, you will do less of them. For instance, I find that one-arm chin-up extremely stressful on the joints. They tolerate less volume. So you can use these recommendations as what they are, recommendations to start with. Obviously, we don't know the exact solution. You are trying to find something that is probably correct for most people training. How much should I do? You start with taking a general recommendation and you try it, let's say, for 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks. You see the results, you see how you feel, and then you make adjustments. But you have to find a good general strength training recommendation if you have no clue to start with, and then commit to it for a long period of time, see what works, and then make adjustments maybe per skill or per person, depends on the individual, how each skill reacts. But you start with a general recommendation that worked for high-level athletes in general, and I find this to be true. It was true for my case, running bodyweight strength skills in multiple different programs. This is just really a few of my programs. I love experimenting. I take programs, I convert them to bodyweight strength. I do bodyweight strength skills over tried and tested, battle-tested strength program by great coaches. And I bring them to you, like A-level skill, hybrid strength on the Bodyweight Tribe, old school training in the Bodyweight Tribe. And that's the video for today. If you want more bodyweight strength programs, information, online coaching under my guidance, all of the details are below in the description, link in the description. Like, share, and subscribe only if you love the video. See you next time.